Go, you're on.
Aloha. So here we are outside of the Board of Water Supply board meeting, and we are we had an interesting meeting. I can't say it was as highly productive as I would have liked, as none of our items have been on the agenda for this meeting. However, we did have some interesting discussion with the chair of the Board of Water Supply, Naalehu Anthony, and others who are part of this picture. And essentially what this comes down to is we're continuing again at the next board meeting in March. I am requesting that they add a public comment section on to the general agendas for their meetings, because essentially their corporation counsel, the lawyer for the city, was telling them that if they listened to any testimony by us on Union Plaza, that they would be out of compliance with the Sunshine Law, which is supposed to protect the public from them making bad decisions. But the only reason that they would be out of compliance is because they have no public comment section, as most boards and commissions in Hawaii do. So it's one of those things that, quite frankly, I can't say that any individual is guilty of this, but as an organization, it's essentially gaslighting us by turning around the issue of the protection of the public in order to protect their ability not to deal with the public. And that's not okay when you're talking about serious human rights violations related directly to water, and where they have actually committed those human rights violations by shutting off the water that people need for everyday uses, including people who should have been protected by the court, which the landlord was not in compliance with and simply ignored multiple court orders. So we need a better system. Obviously, we need our own system that just undoes all of this colonial havoc. And I will say that that is what we're encountering here. There are a lot of good people in this organization, but the actions that have happened by the Board of Water Supply to the public, to the people, to human rights are havoc. It's a public health crisis. It's a human rights crisis, and they didn't have to do it. And the idea that they have to follow a landlord's orders to cut the water, even when that landlord is out of compliance with the court, is a very, very serious problem. As we saw later in the board meeting, they're getting a lot of revenue from development and developers. And essentially, that landlord has power because he's a customer. He is a customer. The public needs water. The public requires the protection of human rights. Where the landlord's interest, customer or no customer, conflict with the rights of human beings to have a clean, safe way to live, there should be no question of which one has a greater value. When your motto is Eola Ikavai, this is unacceptable. And we're going to keep the dialogue up. Here we are dealing with this very colonial system as it's crumbling, as this empire is crumbling and hurting people and causing harm in its collapse and in its very existence. We, the people of the Aina, need to stand up together for each other. We need to stand up and we need to keep going. Colonial institutions, occupation, governments, or calling themselves governments, whatever the case may be, we're going to deal with them as human beings. And as human beings, they have a responsibility to act like human beings and be accountable to Pono. And this is not Pono. Going in there with a police escort to do the bidding of a slumlord who has abused the people over and over again is not Pono. Not for any agency. It shows that they are out of compliance with human rights. They're out of compliance with international law, and they're out of compliance with Pono. And we need to fix that. So stay tuned, gang. There's going to be major changes come this Thursday, because the slumlord Chad Waters lost control of the building and someone is being appointed, and there is going to be a major shift. So hopefully we can get utilities turned on. But this is bigger than Union Plaza. This is bigger than one building. This is about the collusion between government and developers that is harming our people, harming our Aina, harming our Vai. So if you want to talk about Eola Ikavai, let's talk about Ola. Let's talk about Vai. And let's be real about what that really means. Mahalo.